We are thrilled that Molly Marcoux, the Ford Family Director of Athletics at Princeton University, has agreed to be our speaker. Molly is one of the top female student athletes in the Princeton University history and will play an integral role in the creation and management of the sports complex at Chelsea Piers. She's also a hockey player, so I have two sons who played hockey, so I love hockey players, so it's an automatic bond here. Molly graduated cum laude from Princeton in 1991 after majoring in history and writing her thesis on the history of women in sports from 1895 to 1946. She was a two-sport varsity athlete, earning 4 letters each in soccer and in ice hockey. As a senior, Molly was awarded the C. Otto von Kreisbusch, did I get that? Kreisbusch? Close, thank you. Sportswoman of the Year Award for high scholastic rank, sportsmanship, and general excellence in athletics. Molly began her 19-year career with Chelsea Piers Management, the company that owns and operates 2 world-class amateur sports complexes, Chelsea Piers, New York, and Chelsea Piers, Connecticut. She founded and served as executive director of the Chelsea Piers Scholarship Fund, which since its inception has provided more than 2,000 scholarships to make athletic opportunities available to children in need. Before returning to Princeton and taking on her new role as athletics director, Molly served as executive vice president and executive director of Chelsea Piers' 400,000 square foot multi-venue sports complex in Connecticut.
I'm going to talk a lot about the team at Princeton and the team around the team, but some of the people that I have here with me today are really integral to that Princeton athletics team. So first we have Kelly Staples, who's Senior Associate Athletic Director in charge of External Relations, which is a new promotion for her, so you'll be hearing a lot from Kelly. We have Chris Brock, who's Senior Associate Athletic Director in charge of all of our business operations. We have Carolyn Cooper, who's also been newly promoted to our Assistant Director of Marketing. We have Kim Mazzaros, who is my trusty right hand in everything that I do and wouldn't survive without her, and she's going to help with some video stuff over here. And we have Kristen Applegate, who you all know very well, he's a huge supporter of the Chamber and who does amazing work for us and is a big part of our team around the team. And is Erin here? Erin? And I know Carolyn Ainsley couldn't be here today, who's on the board, but she sends her regrets. I think they have a retreat with President Eisgruber, so she couldn't quite say no to that. So I'm really thrilled to be here. I was also thrilled to walk in and see Cosmo Iacovazzi, who is one of our, we're going to show a video of Princeton athletics and one of the legends of Princeton athletics. When I came back into this job, I'd heard his name for so many years and had never had the opportunity to meet him before. And then being able to, his team celebrated the 50th year of their undefeated football season in 1964, and I got to know Cosmo and the rest of his team, and it was pretty much the entire team came back for the celebration last year. So it's been a real honor to get to know one of the all-time legends of Princeton athletics, and when I walked in today, I was thrilled to see Cos here today, so thanks for coming. So I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you today about Princeton athletics in general and to talk to you specifically about what we call the team around the team. I also thought I'd talk to you a little bit about what we think makes a great team and what makes a great coach. When you change your lens a little bit, there are many great lessons that can be learned through sports, and I hope to give you some things to think about as it relates to building a great team and a great department within a business, or for you to think a little bit how similar a great coach is to a great CEO. And we have many great coaches at Princeton, and I want to just highlight a few of those unbelievable people. But before I dive in, I thought I'd play for you one of our new videos. You're actually the first group to see this video as part of a larger series of Princeton athletic videos that we're producing. This particular video is part of our Achieve series, and we have athletic achievement as well as academic achievement videos, and then you'll hear a little bit more about this. We also talk about how every day we're trying to teach our kids to serve and the importance of service in what they do. So we have a whole series of serve videos, and then we have a whole series of videos about leadership and what athletics does for someone in terms of learning leadership skills. So this is sort of a historic look at Princeton athletics, and hopefully you guys can all see it back here. So Kim, if you want to roll.
Princeton athletics dates to a baseball game against Williams back in 1864, a game that Princeton won, we should add. 5 years later, Princeton played in the first ever football game, and in the interest of full disclosure, we should mention that we lost. We've done all of this with athletes who have stayed focused on Princeton's educational and academic missions, stayed loyal to the university so that future generations of athletes can also have the same great experience that they did. The video
indicated we celebrated 150 years of Princeton athletics, and in 2019 we'll be celebrating the playing of the very first intercollegiate football game where we played, as indicated, we played Rutgers. Today, Princeton has 38 varsity teams, which is the third largest program in Division I. Many of the schools that you hear about in Division Division I have 15 or 25 teams. So if you think about what we're offering, almost double the number of programs and have almost 2 times the number of student athletes on campus. We have almost 1,000 student athletes out of close to 6,000 students. So, almost 20% of the population are student athletes, which is pretty remarkable. As you can imagine, our athletic budget is not exactly the same as some of those other big schools that you see. For example, Duke has only 21 teams, and something tells me that their athletic budget is quite a bit bigger than ours. Alabama only has 15 teams. So I often think about that, running a program with 15 teams versus running an athletic department with 38 teams. And we have a much smaller staff, too. So all the people that are here that are in the room, they're really doing amazing work to keep 38 programs afloat. And part of our principle is that we care equally about all of our programs. Obviously, there's some marquee sports, but really we look at every one of our programs as equally as important. So that requires a lot of resources, manpower resources going to all those programs. Princeton has won close to 440 Ivy titles since the league's inception, which represents 25% of all the titles awarded. We've produced almost 1,500 All-Americans. We have 203 national championships. You all may have remembered last year we were on a 43-year streak, and unfortunately in my first year, it's not my claim to fame that that streak ended, but 43 straight years of winning at least one national championship is pretty amazing for an Ivy League school. Historically, Princeton has dominated the competition across the board. In fact, we have 140 Princetonians have competed in the Olympics. 18 Tigers competed at the last Olympics. So were Princeton a country, our combined medal count would have been good enough for 31st place overall. So as you can see, our student athletes represent the highest level of athleticism. Last year, we regained the unofficial All-Ivy Sports Championship by winning 11 Ivy championships. And then we came in second in several other sports, which is kind of how that competition is determined, that winner is determined. Harvard was a very close second with 10 championships. Historically, Princeton has dominated this competition, but we lost the title 2 years ago to Harvard, where they won 14 championships and we only won 6. So there were a whole lot of nervous Tigers out there that year. So I said that Gary Walters, who's my predecessor, did that on purpose so I could come in and, if we went down, it wouldn't look so bad. So I appreciate that from Gary. But last year was a really good year for us. There's tremendous competition in the Ivy League right now. All of the schools are placing a tremendous amount of effort and energy into athletics. I think they're all starting to see really the value of that. Harvard, particularly, over the last few years, they've just been pouring a lot of resources and a lot of enthusiasm into their athletic program, because I think the university as a whole sees how important athletics is to the overall culture of the university. We've had some, as I said, tremendous moments in our athletic history, and our current athletes are really, everyone thinks Princeton athletes, they obviously are smart, but what we really want to emphasize is they're really, truly extraordinary athletes as well. These are athletes competing at the very highest level. But the thing that we're most proud of is that we've always remained true to our mission. Particularly in today's college sports landscape, doing things the right way and winning are often seen as impossible goals. But we've done those things the right way and we've won. Our values are clear and our mission is pure. Our students are high-achieving students and high-achieving athletes. We have Rhodes Scholars, we have Shapiro Prize winners. Our student athletes major in all 35 different departments, which is pretty remarkable. They've worked in HIV clinics in South America, submitted articles for publication to peer-reviewed journals, performed in musical theater in New York. They're really, truly remarkable kids. So a star member of last year's amazing undefeated women's basketball team, who caught the country's attention by being ranked 13th and getting their first round win in the NCAA, Alex Wheatley. She spent 8 weeks in rural Africa last summer teaching secondary school students about environmental conservation. She was awarded Princeton's prestigious Cincy Award, Cincy Scholarship, to complete that very important work. Cincy stands for Scholars in the Nation's Service initiative. That remarkable young woman might have chosen other opportunities for her summer, closer to home, closer to friends and family, and with more opportunity to train, because she really is competing at the very highest level. But she didn't. She chose to serve, which is truly remarkable. Another one of Alex's teammates, if you can believe it, and Alex was a starting member of our team, another one of her teammates, Michelle Miller, is a potential Rhodes Scholar candidate this year with a GPA in chemistry that would rival anyone on campus. She this team was truly remarkable, and they were just a great example of what Princeton athletics is all about. They were fantastic on the court, but each one of them had an interesting story about either their academic profile, their service profile, and we were very proud of all that they accomplished last year. And I know you've heard from Courtney before, and she's really the leader of that group, and the kids are really a representation of her. So there's a ton of these types of examples, and that's why I'm so proud to stand here today representing Princeton athletics and to be back leading our department. As you may have read in my bio, and as Peter alluded to, my route back to Princeton has not quite been the normal route that most athletic directors have taken. When I first returned to Princeton on August 4th last year, I had actually never worked a day in my life in college athletics. Actually, it's not quite true. Between my junior and senior year, I did an internship in the athletic communication office 25 years ago. So it was a little bit of an unusual hire and a little bit of an unusual route to take to this career, but I've been running sports businesses for 20 years, so I've always worked in sports, but clearly from a very different perspective. Moving our family out of our comfortable existence and diving into the unknown was a huge leap for me and my husband Andrew, who's here today, and our kids. But as I was deciding whether I should come back to take on this big adventure, and Andrew and I were sort of spending tons of time talking about it, I went out on a little run with my daughter. She was riding her bike, and I was running, and I was very nervous about this decision. And she said, she was 12. At that point, she was 11. And she said, I think she was actually 10 at that point. And she said, you know, I just was reading an article on risk assessment. And I was like, you were reading what? And she said, I was reading an article on risk assessment. And I think you just have to figure out, you know, what's the worst thing that can happen? And then she said, which was really the clincher, she said, you know, just imagine how good I would be at sports if I got to come back and watch all those unbelievable women play sports. So I went back to Andrew and I said, I think we need to do this. So we can blame her and we can thank her as we go. But ultimately, we decided to make the move back because Princeton athletics meant so much to me as a student athlete, and because I believe so strongly in our mission. Also, as you'll learn, team is one of my favorite words in the English language, and Princeton athletics was a team that I definitely wanted to play for again. As you can imagine, I had a pretty big and steep learning curve just to learn the ins and outs of this industry. I had a lot to learn about the NCAA and the Ivy League and how Princeton functions as an institution. You know, as a student, you just think it all magically happens. I had no idea what sort of went into all of making the athletic department happen. I had lots of constituents to meet and understand, from our athletics administration team to our coaches, to our faculty, to our students, to the larger university administration, to all of the 20,000 athletic alums that exist, and really to you guys, the local community. So moving into this new world was new and scary and challenging. But ultimately, what I found very quickly was that running the athletic department was very similar to running any of the other businesses that I'd been tasked with running. It's just a lot more fun in many ways. So yes, going to Princeton athletic contests is definitely part of my job, which takes up a lot of time, and it certainly cuts into some things that we need to do. But you know, going to all those games and watching our kids compete and getting to know our kids personally, and then watching what they do on the field it's really phenomenal. And you know, I feel very lucky to be able to do that. There's some obvious differences between running a college athletic department and running a business, but as I said, there are many more similarities than differences. While Princeton Athletics' mission has been consistent for years, the first thing that I had to figure out and clearly articulate was what were our specific goals, you know, what our specific mission was, and then what we had to do to achieve those goals. In business, obviously, generally, you can start with the idea that you're trying to grow revenues and manage expenses. Obviously, there are other goals that a business has, but at the heart of things, you're trying ultimately to make money, and you can tell how you're doing based on that metric. I have some revenue responsibilities within the athletic department, and we certainly are trying to sell tickets, and we're selling sponsorships, and we have some revenue component, but largely Princeton Athletics is a revenue drain for the university. It's not, we don't even have to raise all the money that we spend. We do raise a portion of it, but for the large part, we get to focus more on mission. But as a big part of our mission is really just mission itself. And this I found to be both more difficult in many ways because there's not as many metrics of success, but in many ways it's a lot less stressful, right, than having to drive that bottom line all the time. So ultimately, I approached this task just like any other business that I ran, and in fact, it has been the most natural because of everything that I did in my business career was framed in the context of sports, particularly when I started running specific businesses. No matter what business unit I was running at Chelsea Piers, I tried to think think of myself as the coach of a team trying to win. Every day we were trying to get better and continuously improve. We tried to build the right culture. We tried to put people in the right positions. We tried to get individual players to reach their peak performance. And we put together a game plan. We measured our success. And occasionally we had to cut a few players along the way, but not our favorite thing to do. Interestingly, when I was running a large event center, which was really the only business that wasn't a specific sports business, that was where I felt the biggest amount of team.